Hello everyone, welcome back to Prager Paints Minis. Today we're going to look at one of my most requested videos, which is how to paint blue armor on a Space Marine. So hopping right in, our first step is, after base coating the whole thing in Macragge Blue and blocking out all the colors, is to essentially bathe the whole thing in a controlled layer of Nuln Oil. And when I say controlled, I mean you are kind of slopping it on as you see, but I'm also making sure to evenly spread it around. We want to avoid pooling because it leaves what's called coffee marks or tide marks, and we are going to be covering over that, but why give ourselves more work when we can just take a couple extra minutes and do it correctly the first time. I also want to make sure that I get an even coat in all the recesses, and you're going to see as I speed up this video here so that you can see all of the process, that we're going to be doing almost a reverse order that we normally see when people paint their minis. And by that I mean oftentimes people will do targeted recess shades where they'll just go in with a very thin layer and a small brush and hit slowly all the little crevices, but we do it backwards. We're covering the whole thing in Nuln Oil, and then from there we're going to actually come in and glaze our blue back onto the armor panels. And I think that's what gives my miniatures a look that a lot of people seem to be drawn to and ask me about, which is a little more depth in our blue color. And by depth in our blue color, what I mean is, with a much darkened blue shade due to the Nuln Oil, you get to essentially choose how much blue you want to put over the top. So if you want certain sections to remain darker, you can put a lighter glaze over it. If you want to completely eliminate any of the Nuln Oil, you can put a heavier glaze or more layers on top, and this lets you modulate the color, and in my opinion gives a greater depth and a greater control to all the different armor panels. And without a doubt, there are many ways to achieve this. This is just happens to be the way that I've always done it, and I really like the results, and I think you guys do too. So here's how we do it. And you can see now that the color blue it's much darkened down with the Nuln Oil shade. I'm coming back here with straight Macragge Blue, watered down heavily, at least a 1-to-1 ratio, sometimes more. And now I'm glazing back over these panels. I happen to be doing a thicker glaze on these armor panels. You know, especially if they're facing upwards, they're going to receive a lot of light. So I don't bother doing too many glazes. On some of the other panels coming up, you'll see that I'll often do 3, 4, 5 different shades of glazes. This is not a quick process initially if you're not used to it, but none of my painting is fast. I paint for enjoyment, not for speed. There are plenty of speed painting videos out there, and this is if you want to take your time and get a deeper shade of blue. I'm going to go ahead and show you the process for painting the entirety of the left leg here, including some of the other panels on the belt and all that. I want to show you the entire process, and you're going to notice that I'm doing a quick pass. There's going to be less than complete coverage initially. You'll still see some of the darker parts shining through because it's more of a transparent glaze at the beginning. If you go too heavy, like I said, it'll cover it up entirely, and we put some work in to darken it down, and we want to modulate like I stated earlier. So by doing thin glazes, you're allowing yourself to really control how much of the darker shade that you want to show through, and that's going to really separate and give character to the blue armor panels, rather than just spraying it down with Macragge Blue or just slopping the paint on there and calling it good. And I really think this separates the way we're doing it here versus having Macragge Blue and then hitting only the recesses with the Nuln Oil shade. By doing it this way, the reverse way with the glazes, you get to really decide what you want brighter, what you want darker, how much depth you want to each color in each panel. Alright, and here's the completed left leg. You can see the difference between the two. I left the right leg completely undone. The left leg is finished as far as the armor panel shades, and you can see the difference in contrast between the two. It's very striking on video, and if you see it in person, it's very, very noticeable. Moving on to the next armor panel, this is the shoulder pauldron. You know, it has a very distinct shape. I tend to go a little bit more watered down on my glazes for this one. And I just want to, again, have control. Sometimes on the more upper facing section, I'll go a little heavier so that it's a little brighter. And I know when I watch videos, I like to see a lot of the process instead of a bunch of cut up clips. So I'm going to show you this shoulder pauldron, as well as in the next clip, you're going to see a sped up version of me doing some of the back of the miniature. So that way you'll see the leg, the shoulder panel, some of the back of the miniature, and you can really have a good idea of how to go through the entire process from front to back. You'll notice here that I keep going over the same sections, multiple passes. I'll let it dry for the most part, and then I'll come back. And this is really a way to build up the color over time. Lots of very thin down glazes, coming back to panels, and just really keeping at it until you're happy with the smooth consistency and the brightness and depth of color. And when we finish, this is the product that we usually end up with. You can see that the shades are very dark. The highlighted armor panels pop out nicely, and it's really a lot of high contrast, very striking on the table in photographs and video. It's a look that I'm super happy with, and once you practice, it really doesn't take much time at all. And I want to leave you with a finished version of one of his squad members here. I use the exact same process, and this is what it looks like with all the finished details. There's another video I have of the edge highlighting if you're interested in how I achieve that look. Make sure to check it out. And once again, thank you so much for the support. If you want to leave a like or a comment, give me some idea for a future video that you want to see. If you subscribe, I'll try to keep pumping out content for you guys, and we'll see you next time.